Just like witches have black masses. Oh shit, my hair looks real crazy today. Oh no. What have I done? What have I done? Look at this. It is what it is. It's probably like the fact I'm sitting in front of a fan and I really don't know because I brushed my hair like an hour ago, so I don't know how it got this messed up already. It is what it is though. Hi, hey, hello, welcome, greetings. Hi, hello, welcome, greetings. Yeah, you don't always think about those kinds of things until you actually like start up something where you have to see yourself and then you're like, ah! How are you? I could be better. I was supposed to get some cannabis today, but then my plug was not in town. They're supposed to be back in town tomorrow, so I guess like, oh well. But still, that's like a whole tomorrow that I gotta get through. A whole tomorrow. On the bright side, I do have an iced coffee with a little Mexican chocolate in it, so that's pretty cool. If you guys have never had that, by the way, it's really fucking good. Just make sure that you mix in your Ibarra before you like add any ice or anything like that, because you really need the heat to help break down all the like the fats and the stuff that holds the chocolate together. Welcome, asbestos fingers. Welcome, welcome. I was drinking with a glass and accidentally hit it on my table, and my dog thought somebody was breaking into my house. Yeah, that happens. You got to be careful with like sudden noises and pets, because pets will be like, well, I mean, it's it's honestly kind of cute because they think they're helping out. They think they're protecting the household. In their minds, they're just declaring the danger. Oh yeah, iced coffee at 9:05 p.m. That's how you get through the night. I mean, yeah, more or less. Although for me, it's actually 11:05, so it's even later for me to be drinking late coffee or iced coffee. Man, I can't believe Ozzy's dead, bro. Not that I was like the most giant Black Sabbath fan or whatever, but when somebody that influential dies, it's always just like, what? I don't know. It reminds you that mortality is a fact of life and that it does not merely go away because you're awesome, you know? Although it does become more meaningless the more awesome you are, because the more people remember you, the less meaning that your death has, right? Because the various things that you did in your life will continue to carry on and make memories. I just know that your sleep schedule's got to be messed up. Sleep schedule. Implying that I'm going to bed and waking up at regular times. Thank you for not reproducing. Man, really fucking absurd and silly of you to assume just on the basis of me being queer that I haven't reproduced. Oof. Man, giant assumptions that we're just going to read into other human beings that live around us. Isn't that nice? You need to get out. You need to get a life, bro. You need to figure out something more productive than telling a person who's way more obstinate than you are to do fuck or all. I will never listen to an order you give. You will never raise yourself up to a high enough level of provenance or prominence for me to believe a fucking thing you say or to take it seriously in any way. So don't tell me what to do, bitch. Why in the world is chat so bad today? Oh, Hope, you know the drill. Chat is always bad within the first hour and a half of the stream. That's just how it goes, you know? We talk to the crazies, but you also know, Hope, that we foster an atmosphere of trolls here. We like the trolls. We like the trolls. We'll, I tried it yesterday, but we'll do it again. So yesterday we did an Order 66. Yesterday we did not an Order 66, but we did the opposite, right? We did an Order 33. We're going to do an Order 33 again. No bans in the chat. And you approve every message down here. Unless it's got fucking my personal information in it or some shit. Obviously ban that. But I'm saying outside of that, short of breaking the terms of service outright in a way that would endanger me or my family, short of that, no bans until I say otherwise. Let's see what the most deranged people online have to say when they're let completely off the chain, shall we? Are you a man, woman, both, non, something else? I am a woman with a deep voice. I know I'm an oddity among trans women for not voice training, but honestly, my voice never really gave me that much dysphoria. I feel like I've met plenty of women who have way deeper voices than I do, and I've also met plenty of men who have way higher voices than I do, so... sure, outliers are a thing even with voices, but really it's way easier to find a voice, a vocal outlier, than it is to find any other kind of outlier. What were you born as? What business is it of yours, if I may ask? Do you plan on sleeping with me, DD? Because if you plan on flirting with me and sleeping with me, then I can help you out. But if you're just asking because you're curious, then I would ask you, why don't you ask that about any other woman that you meet? You're curious. Thank you for admitting that. So why ask me, but not any other random woman? And maybe you do. How would I know, right? But I'm just assuming, DD, that that's probably not the way you engage with your, if you see a random girl on the street, you start talking to her. I'm assuming that's not one of the questions, right? And I guess really what I'm asking is, what bearing does it have on my personality, or what you would think of me, or what you would think of my positions, a man and a woman can have as equally justified a position on any given political issue. On average, men and women might have some differences that kind of swing one way or the other, but outliers prove that people within either one of those delineations can go either way, so. Can you stop yapping and just answer the question? I could, but now you're being a little cunt. You see, if you want to be condescending, you're going to find that I'm way better at being condescending than you are, little bitch. And the more you do it, the more embarrassing it's going to be for you, as I point out more and more of your insecurities and rub them deeper and deeper into your face. So if you want to have something like a respectful conversation like we were just having, that's an option for you. But if you don't, oh, Lord, have mercy on your tired, tired soul. By the way, there's 203 people in here right now. If half of you guys liked right now, we would have 101 likes like that. So come on, imagine, just do it. Double tap your screen or hit the little like button over here on the rail somewhere, and make sure you send a super chat if you want to make sure your message gets read. It's a great way to support the channel and to ensure that you are part of the conversation. What are you smoking on? THCA. This is Hazy Mary Pineapple Express. Girl or boy, answer on a like, girl. 101 plus 101 equals 202. Well, yeah, but 203 doesn't divide evenly, right? It doesn't divide evenly in two. So I would have had to say 101 point, what would it be? 101.5? Yeah. That doesn't, right now, right now it's 228 subs. So if half of you guys liked, it would be 114 likes, right? So It's not that I don't understand the math. It's just that if you're trying to work within a system that doesn't allow you to represent decimals, you round down or up. Excuse me. Less. All right. Well, Merrick's here, and the chat has been abysmal. So, order 66. No, okay, but we're reversing the order 33. You guys can tighten things up a little bit if you want to. I mean, obviously, leave me some trolls. You got to let me play with my meat, but God, some of this just unreadable, bro. Okay, like, do we want to actually have a conversation about a single fucking thing? There's so much that's gone on in the news today and over the last 2 months, and like, I'm reading like a bunch of insults and shit talking in my chat, but I'm not actually reading a bunch of like conversational prompts. What's up with the reinforced door? That's not a reinforced door. It's literally an outbuilding door. Have you ever seen one of those like trailers that they use on like a construction site or something like that? You know, like it's got the office in it and like a bathroom. Yeah, it's one of those. And it's great because it's like, you know, insulated and everything. I can be loud out here. It's separated from the house, not just by not just by walls, but by space. So that's nice. It's a good little place to stream. Last person I'm getting any advice from? That's a fucking shame, Bilbo, because I have given so many people such good advice. People pretty much every time I've streamed this week have come in and like a different person has said, hey, you gave me some advice on this, that, or the other thing, and it really worked out. And I'm like, aw, yay. Did you know being gay is a sin? Maybe it is to you. Maybe it is in your belief system. Maybe your particular brand of whatever religious bullshit you've tied yourself in with believes it's a sin. I don't have to live by that principle. Thoughts on Colbert? I think CBS was paid off by Trump. I think CBS was choosing its words very carefully. Everybody acts like CBS saying, oh, it's a financial decision, is some kind of cop-out. I think it's a slap in the face to Stephen Colbert. That's what I think. I think the CBS's fucking statement on it, it's a purely financial decision. I think that's meant to be a double entendre and a slap in the face of Stephen Colbert. I think they're basically saying Stephen Colbert is not paying over the next 4 years, as well as it's looking like Donald Trump might be paying. And Stephen Colbert is not earning us nearly as much as Donald Trump's wrath is losing us. And so I think they caved to the authoritarian despot like the fucking capitalist pigs they are. And I think Stephen Colbert will probably find his way onto YouTube or onto another network or something, and he will keep on keeping on. My only beef with Trump right now is the list. I mean, that's a lot of people's beef with Trump right now. And honestly, it's one of my fucking big sticking points with him too. Not that I would have voted Trump. You know, I'm not a Trump person. I'm not a Kamala person either. But one of the, in my opinion, few upsides to the Trump presidency was, in my opinion, going to be the Epstein files, right? Because he was campaigning on it so hard. He was campaigning on it as hard as a motherfucker who ain't on that list should be campaigning. But now, the way he's hiding it, you know his fucking ass and his family is on that list. I'm not saying his whole family. Obviously, there's, like, something tells me Melania probably wasn't all that fascinated by Pedo Island. But who the fuck knows? I don't know. But Trump himself has, they have a long-ass history. This is not conspiracy theory bullshit. This is not something you hear all that much on CNN. This is just some shit that you learn once you start fucking learning about these two figures. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein have been tight like that for ages. And this shit's sickening. The fact that he has campaigned on this, right, for 4 years now, and now that he's in power, Now that someone in his administration has the opportunity to make good on it, he's actually defending their choice not to. That's fucked. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. What's your thoughts on Ozzy's death? The loss of a legend, bro. The loss of a fucking world-changing legend that we're all a little worse off for losing. Dude, performing right up to the bitter end, too. I heard Paul Zico saying this earlier on Onion Nuggets. You gotta fucking respect a dude who literally goes out that way. Like that, what a way to go out. Like that's the best that you could hope for if you're like a performer or something like that. Died, I'm not gonna say he died doing what he loved, but he died right after a big giant farewell concert in his hometown, and everything came full circle. And that's just awesome and wonderful. And it's a death that's sad because he's gone, because he's never gonna create more anything, right? Unless there's like an Elliott Smith situation where he had recorded some more, but it hadn't been committed to tape yet, or committed to a wide release, I mean. If something like that, maybe, but outside of that sort of scenario, we've seen the last that we're going to see of Ozzy Osbourne, and that's really sad. I'm actually very curious about your political beliefs. Are you pro-Kamala, Trump, non, a bit of both? Pro-capitalism, socialism, communism? I am pro-market socialism. I think that basic human needs need to be taken out of the hands of the market, because I don't think the market does responsible things with basic human needs. And I'm a big fan of little babies being able to grow up into adults. As a parent myself, I place a lot of value on the ability of people to raise families, and on the people who make up those families to have good lives that aren't subject to the need of a rich person somewhere to make a little more money. But that being said, there are certainly things that a human being does not need to live, right? And there are things that you can supplement with voluntaristic societies and things like that, right? And some of that already exists, right? Like little free libraries. What do you think that is? That's a voluntaristic society of people who ensure that the communities in which they place their boxes remain, that they remain in access to good literature, right? To an abundant source of it. I think in a society like that, you could leave like luxuries, a lot of them, up to the marketplace, and save things like housing and healthcare and medicine and things like that, and fucking food, right? Take those out of the hands of the marketplace to the highest degree that we can. And with food, that might be difficult, right? Maybe everybody is entitled to a baseline amount of calories represented by this many different foods, right? And everyone's entitled to that. Whether you use it or not is up to you, but everyone's entitled to that. And then you can buy extra if you want to. And then, but like, you don't have to have like the highest fucking caliber of seafood on that list, right? There's a lot of different proteins than some classy fucking dishes that can be made with a variety of things that could be provided just as a baseline, right? Now, I will be honest with you. In a far future society where we get everything we want, I would love to have like a post-capitalist world where we don't have money and all that, crazy communist hippie bullshit, right? I want that, but I don't think you can flip the switch on that tomorrow. I do think we could flip the switch on a market socialist system tomorrow, so let's fucking do it. Not literally, because I can't flip that switch, but that's my position. As far as being pro-Kamala or pro-Trump, I kind of detest them both. Kamala was going to launch us into a war with Iran just as much as Trump was, and seems like he might still do, maybe, depending on the news that you read. Trump is every bit, or I'm sorry, Kamala would have been every bit as hard on the border as Trump was and is, because literally they were campaigning. Everybody acts like the Democrats have this like crazy cosmopolitan view on borders now, and I don't know where this fucking misperception comes from, because if you actually look at Democratic rhetoric over the 2024 campaign, they were incredibly pro strong borders. They were literally taking Republican talking points and applying it to their fucking arguments. So I don't know where this misapprehension that the Democratic Party is some party of fucking like migrant loving hippies. I don't know where that comes from, other than the fact that there are a bunch of like migrant loving hippies like myself that for some reason are willing to vote for the fucking Democratic Party, even though they know all this shit. Even though they know all this shit, because they've been told it by people like me, by people like all over the political spectrum. It's fucking retarded, but for some reason that association will just never die. May it be known, I'm not a fucking Kamala voter. I'm smart enough to recognize that both parties are fucking us up the ass, and that we're not meaningfully opposing them in any fucking way. Do you think, man, there's literally one person that doesn't have a wrench right now that is posting comments that I can read. So thank you, Dee Dee. Is not, wait, maybe there's two. Hold on. Is not the Democrats, is not the Republican. Oh my God, don't get out of here, bro. It's not the fucking Jews. Jewish people, by and large, are fucking regular ass working class people. There are a few fucking families that happen to be Jewish involved in some industries. But I got news for you. If we want to make broad associations based on similar racial characteristics and their positions in power, it's not Jews that run the world, it's crusty old white guys. Crusty old Protestant white guys. That's who runs the world, if you want to level with me real quick. It's not the Jews, it's crusty old Protestant white guys. Now that that's dealt with, let's see what Dee Dee was saying. Do you think socialism is only a good concept but doesn't actually work as well as around the world? No, I think that it depends, right? It depends on your definition of socialism, right? When I think of like a market socialist system, I think of something like what, say, the Netherlands or a lot of the Scandinavian countries are approaching, where they are funding a lot of social programs and it's showing really good outcomes in their countries, and it's actually putting them in a position to implement more of them, right? Because it's like the theory is being proven all the time. The more of it's proven, the more of it makes sense to implement. And as time goes by, less and less of your basic needs are being left up to the fucking whims of the marketplace in places like that. And that shit, you know, I think that is an admirable goal to pursue, especially when we can look at the outcomes and see that they're better than what we're dealing with here, right? So, you know, like the theory-based definition of socialism goes into like worker ownership of the means of production. It's like a very specific definition that involves like private property is retained, but the means of production are owned by the workers. And, you know, where communism is the means of production are owned by the workers and all land is held in common, basically. And, you know, I think we could get to something like that, right? I'm not like, I don't think communism is a bad word, if you take my meaning, but I don't readily identify as one right this fucking second, if that makes sense, because I recognize that America is a really capitalist country and that we're not going to be able to go nice and sweetly from what we have now to that. And Marx recognized this too, which is where the distinction between socialist and communist comes from. It's what would you call it? It's a progression. Can chat stop being mean? I actually can enforce a standard in chat. Let me make it a little bit more readable. Okay, we're going to do a 5-minute subscriber mode. No, we'll do a 1-minute subscriber mode. And then if it continues being stupid, we'll make it a little bit harsher. But for now, that should be good. We'll do a 15-second slow mode, and things should be readable now. Sorry about that. I was on a roll. What's up, Post Music? Wait, you're Pig Mercy, right? Yeah, no, you're all welcome. I'm sorry that it took me so long to hit the button and make things readable in here, but, you know, sometimes that's just how it is. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, It would be a lot. I can't do. It would be like 29 something. 179. Yeah, 179 likes instantly if all of you guys hit the like button right this second. So do it. All the mods and true fans who know how to spell. Yeah, it really is a quality filter, right? That's why you have to turn it on sometimes, because like I want to continue having this interesting conversation with DD or whoever else wants to have it. I really like debating the whole like capitalism versus other systems kind of idea. I love debating that, especially because I don't really think I'm all that good at it. And so people are usually able to help me be better at it by helping me figure out places that I haven't addressed yet, if that makes sense. You think sub only going to stop me? No, I really, in fact, just want your sub and want the people who are like just going to type poop balls to scroll away. Like people who want to like be interesting and troll, hey, you're welcome here. There's no rule against trolling. You know what the rules here are? They're very simple. Readable, original, and interesting. What chair you have? I want to buy. This is the back seat of an old truck. Shout out to the LGBTQ community. Love from Serbia. Hey, love from America. That's super dope. Thank you. I appreciate that. There was somebody who sent a super chat earlier. I think I completely missed it. Let me switch to fan funding. That one wasn't even that loud, actually. It's not showing up for some reason. Let me see here. Did the person who sent a super chat, they get banned? Is that what ended up happening? Did I just miss it? Well, whoever sent the $2, I appreciate it. Thank you. Man, that fucking sucks. Why isn't it showing that, dude? I feel fucking shitty because, like, you know, one of the whole reasons I always say a super chat is, like, so you can get your question read. And my fucking goddamn phone is just not showing it. Either that or they said something reprehensible and got banned. And I really don't know which. What's Trump's Epstein distraction campaign? Oh, yeah. Okay. Hope, good question. So, because Trump has been embattled over this Epstein shit, right? All of MAGA and all of the left and all of everybody, really. It's not kind of... It's a very bipartisan effort. At least, you know, on the part of the voters. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants a release of everything that the federal government has locked away about the Epstein case. Because everybody wants to know, like, who the fuck was involved in this shit? How deep does the corruption go? And I think a lot of people like me, like, I think that would be enough to get the American people to understand that both parties are, like, dark, corrupt things. And we need a new fucking way that abandons these two parties entirely, that moves to something new and different, and creates in its wake an America that has a broad and wide representation of thought, that is not dominated by two narratives, but that rather comes to policy through consensus, with a coalition government just like every fucking reasonable country has. Let me see here. Genuinely asking, how does one feel a different gender, or even masculine or feminine, as they are just stereotypes? Well, Dexter's Disciple, if you genuinely don't feel a certain gender at all, like, it might be interesting for you to read more about trans theory. I'm not saying that you are trans, but it just might be interesting for you to kind of explore why it doesn't mean much to you, right? Because, like, there are some people to whom it really doesn't mean much. And honestly, ironically, now that I'm out as trans, gender really only matters to me whenever somebody wants to debate the validity of my existence, should I choose to continue identifying as trans, right? Because there are some people who would legitimately kill me just because I'm trans. Not necessarily a lot of people in America. I really don't know that that sort of thing is nearly as common as it was maybe 20 years ago. But like, certainly around the world, there are countries where trans people are just downright not safe. And um, outside of that, like, I really don't think about gender much anymore, because when I look at myself in the mirror, I don't see something I don't identify with. I don't see something that produces this weird sense of disorder. It's almost like mental nails on a chalkboard. When I used to look at myself in the mirror whenever I was like what trans girls call boy moding, right? So before I was out as trans, I could not stand to look at myself in the vast majority of the things I would wear. Now, every so often, I would wear something that was way more androgynous, and I loved that shit. And that was kind of like the window into it for me. But I really couldn't do that regularly and not feel like socially pressured in a really intense way by everyone in my life until I moved to this little town in the northwest corner of Missouri called Carrollton, which ironically, despite being a way smaller town than the town I grew up in the southeast corner of Missouri, despite being way smaller, was actually way more tolerant, if you can believe it. I don't know what the fuck that was about. I don't know if that's just good old Midwestern kindness or what, but I had way more luck there with expressing different sides of myself and facets and everything. And it produced a lot of joy in me to be able to like express, like, I don't know, I keep using that word, right? But it's, I just don't know how else to put it, right? Like, being able to express yourself through clothing, through hairstyle, through, because like I never was able to grow my hair out really long until I moved to Carrollton, because it wasn't until then that I didn't have anybody breathing down my neck to cut it all the time, right? So as soon as I did, just stopped cutting it, and I never started cutting it again. So it's been growing now for like 7 years. Yeah. So, respectfully, why fly your flag? Or why? I know you can't speak for all. Let me see here. I see your question, Dee Dee, and I will answer that next because I do like that question. Um, uh, I know you can't speak for all, but why is the flag pushed? So pushed? There's no need. Well, here's why it's necessary, Dexter. Because, like, and I know it probably doesn't seem important to someone who's not queer, right? Like, because you don't ever have to like worry about the things that queer people have had to worry about over the last 100 years. You know, like, there were all. I'm trying to decide how I want to approach this. Bear with me. I guess I'm gonna have to answer this in two parts because it really is a question in two parts. Why do I fly my flag? Because I think it makes it less ambiguous to who and what I am. I'm like not ashamed at all to advertise the fact that I'm openly trans. I really don't care what other people think about it in terms of their like judgment or anything like that. I'm glad when people are supportive because that's like reassuring to me that the world continues to be friendlier on this topic. But I just got to a point in my life where I was like, I'm not going to live this lie anymore. I'm going to be myself. And whatever consequences come of that, that's what happens. Because I will not face the misery of living the rest of my life falsely. Right? So ultimately, other people's judgments about it don't matter to me a whole lot. And so I kind of like the fact that people know instantly when they see me, when they see the flag behind me, that I'm trans. There's no question in their mind. And it induces rage in some people, and in some people it's like, friend shaped, yay, you know. And in other people it's like, oh, probably a lefty, you know. People have all kinds of different reactions to it, but honestly, the chief reason it's back there, though, I'll be completely dead ass honest with you, is because if it wasn't back there, it would just be a plain white wall, and that was like a really boring shot for a really long time. So I asked if I could borrow one of my partner's pride flags like 6 months ago, and they said yeah, and it's been hanging up there ever since. I mean, that's the truth of it, like all that other shit is true too, but the original reason it got placed up there you know, was like the convenience of the shot. You know, it needed some color. And I'm proud to fly it, so why not? But why is it pushed so hard? To normalize queerness in people's eyes, right? And people would say, well, no other minority group has needed to be normalized like that. And I would say, not true. Not really my place to speak on it, though, either. But what I would say is that queer people, for the last, 100 years or so, have been variably called predators and awful people and groomers and all this other shit, right? Most of it on the basis of there being some queer literature in the library that consists of a gay relationship, no more sexual or, uh, you know, lascivious than anything in the rest of the, like, young adult romance section or whatever. Nothing more lewd and lascivious than anything in that, but because it's gay, people take issue with it. I think that it's a good thing that a lot of these public institutions are now starting to put up pride flags to let people know, hey, we ain't about that. We offer equal representation to all walks of the rainbow here. Whatever your story is, it's welcome in the library if you've got a few copies sold and you want to donate them. Could we revisit your views on the two political parties? Do you think we should add a third party or scrap everything altogether? Thoughts? Well, honestly, I think that adding a third party might scrap everything altogether in and of itself. I think a sufficiently equipped third party could actually turn the entire system up over on its head. By the way, DD, I really do want to answer this electoralism question, but if you want to repeat your question on Israel here in a few minutes, feel free. But yeah, I think that if we did add a third party, it might legitimately turn things on its head, and we might end up with some kind of system where we don't just have that one third party. Now we've got a whole bunch of different parties because the Republicans are trying to recover their strength and the Democrats are trying to recover their strength. And now there's like a couple of splinter parties from both of them trying to recover their strength. And hey, maybe the originating third party even splits into another one. And now maybe we've got like 7 or 8 parties, but maybe that third party, as part of its like 8-year tenure or whatever it ends up getting from the American people, introduces voting reforms that allows our electoral system to be friendlier to this like new kind of, I'm having a total George Bush moment. This new framework. I'm just gonna use a Bushism. Fuck it. Why not? Yeah, we're gonna have to lay the groundwork for the framework so that we can have adequate groundwork. Did I just say those words? I know what it's like to be a single mom trying to put food on your family. But the beautiful thing about America is that we're the land where wings take dream. Thank you for, of course, 100%. Anybody else wants to ask a question? That's what this chat is for. I love doing this shit. I love having these conversations. Feel free to share the stream, by the way. That really helps to push it out there in the algorithm, but it also just helps to introduce my content to new folks. If anybody's listening, they want to, like fuck on me with other people, hey, bring some more trolls in, make things interesting. If you think other people like me, hey, the more the merrier. I don't care either way, really. I just want people to participate in here. I don't give a fuck how they feel about me, you know? Participation is participation. Let's fight. Let's kiss. I don't give a shit. God ain't real? No, that's true. That's, yeah. Unfortunately, no. Would that it were so, but, God is sadly very fake. Hey, please go back and leave your questions. I'm interested in conversation. Okay, I can actually go to channel activity and see what you were saying, so I will do that. Leather. Let me see here. Okay. Okay. Let me see here. So how far do you want me to go back? Because you have said a lot of things. So I'm just going to start with your first question, which was, hey, I think respect is a crucial role in society and find brain dead trolling bad. That being said, I'll be honest with you. I do completely disagree with your lifestyle. However, I'd love... it looks like you tried to say something and you two probably nicked it. And the next message I see is, and I'd love to get on a call to discuss that further. Because it's quite obvious it's bad, but I personally believe America will never have more than 2 dominant parties. I think that's just like I would have agreed with you 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. Now, nah, dude. I think the conditions have never been more right for more than 2 parties. Let me see here. I understand you're speaking about something else. Previous messages. So let me see. You said some things about homelessness, and that's kind of piquing my interest because I used to be homeless. But yeah, so leather. It's kind of hard for me to tell what exactly you were wanting to talk to me about from reading the log of your messages, and I'm hemorrhaging viewers trying to go through it. So if you want to repeat it in here, feel free. Otherwise, I just think you're wrong on the 2-party thing. I think we could 100% get not just a 3rd party, but an abundance of parties going here in the great United States. Do you find it weird when people make their sexuality their whole identity? I mean, yeah, kind of. Like, I think people probably perceive that about me, merely because, like, when I do when I'm streaming, right? Number one, I'm visibly trans, but to me, that's not making my sexuality my whole personality, Some people consider it that, I don't, and I think people that do are kind of weird, but some people will see the flag and think, oh, that's definitely them making their, sexuality their whole personality, when in reality, I literally use this room for nothing but streaming. It's like an outbuilding that exists for me to stream in. And that's the only place I have a queer flag hanging up. Not because I'm not proud to fly it, like I said, I defended flying it earlier. But it's just like, I'm not so obsessed with, being fucking queer that I've got, 1,000,000 pride flags hanging everywhere. I don't think it's, weird to the point of being, red flaggy or anything, but it's just, to me, it's a little off-putting when it's, a giant, enormous, huge part of someone's, personality. It's just a little bit off-putting. Yeah, no, 100%. If you send a super chat, you have a way better chance of your question getting answered. Just don't send anything that violates YouTube's TOS, or I won't read it, and it'll probably get banned. Otherwise, feel free to send a super chat. It's also a really great way to help support the channel. Who we do is often the least cool thing about us. Yeah, 100%, Rachel. I 110% agree, which is why, if nobody brings it up, we don't talk about queer theory here. It's not like I'm never the one who brings it up. That's the fucking funny thing about it, right? And I always feel the need to defend myself on this one, but I'm never the one who brings it up. It's always other people asking me about it and me giving my honest takes as a queer advocate, right? But I'm never the one who brings it up as here's my front facing forward into this conversation. It's just to me, this is just being honest about who I am and helping people understand what my political leanings are from the very jump. Pride top, pride shorts, purse, and rainbow earrings. How can I make my sexuality more my personality? I'll totally do it. I don't know. There are just some people who which, like I said, I find it mildly off-putting, but not enough that I haven't been friends with 1,000,000 people who have this tendency. Maybe not 1,000,000, but you know what I mean. And some people would definitely have accused me of having this personality. Maybe some people would still now, but there are just some folks. It's like every joke they make, it relates in some way to queerness, and it's like every time they make a little like cute dessert to bring to the party, it's always got little rainbows on it, right? And to me, it's just off-putting because like obsessions in general are kind of off-putting to me, right? Like I have an aunt, okay, that has a whole room full of nothing but Coke shit, nothing but Coke stuff, literally. Drink Coke, drink Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola Polar Bear, Coca-Cola Ragdoll, Coca-Cola this, Coca-Cola that, Coke, 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 Coca-Cola, everywhere you look. And that room, I can't go in it, dude. It is off-putting, bro. It doesn't even begin. I don't, like, obsessionists to that degree are strange to me. And I don't know that it has as much to do with the fact that it's like, you know, like they've transposed their queer advocacy into like a massive personality framework. I don't think that it has much to do with the fact that it's gay that bothers me, right? I think it's more the fact that it's like obsessionism in general, you know? People should be wide and varied creatures with lots of different interests, lots of different things that they're into, you know? You want to have some Coke stuff? Okay. Like 4 or 5 items, okay? 7 or 8 if you really want to go crazy with it. You want to have some guitars? Okay, cool. 3 or 4. How many more do you need than that? Why? I should never go into your house and see guitars just lying all around, you fucking hoarder. You know? I don't know. I think I might just be really stoned and going off on some crazy bullshit, but hey. People should be how they are because they're going to anyways. Yeah, no, I'm not telling people how they should be. I hope it doesn't sound like that. I am way in support of people being that way if they want to be, which is why I'm like trying to be like conciliatory, if that makes sense. Because I don't want people to get any misperceptions. I don't think there's anything wrong with being that way. I just personally am sometimes a little off-put by it. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it, right? And I would never stop someone from being that way. And like I said, you know, quite often somebody like that is funny enough, despite that little quirk, that it doesn't matter anyway. And ultimately, that's the ultimate weight of my heart. I feel the same way about people keeping old flowers. Oh, yeah? Oh, 100%, yeah. Old flowers are fucking weird. Well, okay. Come on, Desi, you don't see the point. Oh, man. No, dude, I don't keep old dead flowers. But listen, I was given a book a long time ago with a preserved thyme flower, or not thyme, but what is it? Thistle. A preserved thistle in a book. And I cherished that fucking thing. But I also got it from an ex. And there's like a lot of feelings wrapped up in that. So maybe that's just like my sentimentalism coming out. Opinion on Israel. There's a war on in the Middle East. Billions of people down on their knees because they're begging and pleading for mercy. Seems like Israel just can't seem to make peace. So we tore down and scrapped Cheyenne, built a town called New Jerusalem, and they don't need no M1 tanks because the U.S. military's got them safe. There's no Hamas, no atom bombs, just the smell of pie and soccer moms. You can say it was wrong, but we stay knowing that all the Jews are happy roaming in what used to be Wyoming. That's my opinion on Israel. Bring it over here. Let's fucking withdraw from this fucking region. Let's stop treating it like it's a chess piece. Let's fucking say fuck it to this nationalistic, imperialistic drive that our country has for no reason. Well, I mean, it is for a reason, but it's for the most disgusting fucking set of reasons that humanity has ever conceived of. So let's fucking do away with it, can we? And failing that, let's fucking manage these two countries, Israel and Palestine, until they can learn to get along together like a couple of nice Girl Scouts. My lilies are all blooming. It's a gay thing I care about. Is that too gay? I sing MCA while I water them. No, that's just gay enough. Honestly. That's like in tune gay. Young man, get yourself off the ground, I said. Young man, pick yourself off the ground, I said. God, I wish I knew the lyrics to that song. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Cause we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl. People seriously call so many things gay, especially in class. Maybe they actually need to be gay to realize what is actually gay. Yeah, I think that's a problem with it. But also, like, people will just, like, people say that calling things gay came out of fashion in the 90s, but I fucking beg to differ. It did so with millennials, a specific cohort of millennials, too. It did so with a specific cohort of millennials, and it really didn't stop until, like, 2015. But I would say since 2015, it's been pretty much cool to call things gay again. So for 10 years, it's been okay to call something gay if it's, like, not pleasing you in some way. But every so often, people want to get up in arms about it. I don't understand. I'm too autistic to understand how this world works sometimes. I'll be completely dead-ass honest with you. I don't even try anymore. What's your opinion on the draft? Would you go if called upon? I would try, but I would get disqualified. I'm way too physically fucked up. And before you say, nah, you're probably not. No, I am. I have, like, a bunch of fucking muscle and ligament damage in my right knee from, like, 3 cellulitis infections over the last 2 or 3 years that have happened. Actually, honestly, I'm pretty sure I had one in 2019 and I just didn't go to the hospital, so I didn't find out that it was that. Didn't know. But anyway, so, like, I'm all fucked up from that. I've got like, weird ass feet that don't exactly sit correctly, kind of like bow-legged and shit. I'm just pretty sure that I would not pass a physical. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, maybe they're looking for crazy fucking bow-legged freaks like me, but something tells me that I would be rejected. But I'd go to MEPS. I'd give it the old college try. Like, ultimately, I'm sounds fucking sad, and it is, but, like, I'm poor enough that if my country got so desperate that it was willing to throw me somewhere in the fucking military meat grinder, and it was offering me, like, the sorts of things that people are offered, for joining the military, yeah, not gonna lie. It's like, do I want to not be able to make money for my family for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long it takes the United States to get over this fucking prolonged conflict? Or do I want to, like, serve, like, 8 years and then, like, get out? Or, like, serve, like, 6 years and then do, like, 4 in the reserves or something? You weigh the pros and the cons, and it's like, oh, well, not a big fan of this conflict, but I'm really not going to escape my adjacency from it by going to a prison. What's your take on being ready for more than two parties? I feel like the voter base is not ready for that personally. I don't know. Like, what do you think about the whole like divide that's erupted within MAGA over this Epstein shit? Because I look at that and I see potent fucking fuel for some kind of third party or independent movement that helps move people over on this, that helps make people realize that the answer to their woes, the answer to the fucking things that make their head spin about this country, do not lie in attacking the Republicans. It does not lie in attacking the Democrats exclusively, either of them, and it lies in attacking both of them. It lies in attacking the fucking system that they enable. And to do that, we're going to have to come together with some kind of independent movement that unites around common interests for Americans. And that's going to take, honestly, that's going to take some radicalization of certain aspects of the voter base on both sides. But I think that radicalization is, I mean, it's been happening on the Democratic side for a long time. I think it's apt on the Republican side. And that's why my rep has been, so focused on getting conservative people to talk to me and talk with me whenever they feel like it, whenever I can snag a couple. I like to have these arguments and these discussions because I want people to understand that there's another way. There is another way. There are things that interest all of us. Universal health care is something we need to have. I don't care what side of politics you're on. Republicans would benefit from that. Democrats would benefit from that. Apolitical people would benefit from that. Only people who don't benefit from universal health care are the fucking insurance companies. Yeah, the same companies we all bitch about all day long when we have to fucking pay our copays and shit. So why are we apt to defend that system? I don't think we are. And if you look at the polls, Americans have been pretty much united in their support for universal health care for, what is it, like 20 years now? 20 years and running? Oh, dude, you're never going to ban weed. You're just dreaming if you think you're ever going to ban weed at this point. Let me see here. Man, a lot has happened in the chat since I started talking. I feel like that just moves people away from Trump. I mean, it moves people away from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Follow-up question. Do you think certain social issues, like pride being tied to political parties, limits progress towards the overall benefit? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think that it's something that these social movements really can't help, right? Because the political parties pick these issues up once they get enough popularity among the base. I mean, Trump is the reason why Trump leads the Republican Party now, the reason why he's so influential is because when he first ran back in 2015, 2016, he fucking mastered the art of like deep analysis of the Republican voter base. He basically, I don't know if he used focus groups, I don't know what he did, but he figured out what does the average hillbilly ass Republican actually care about? What are some issues that they care about? What are some of the things they say? That's why Trump sounds so familiar. I'm convinced that he used focus groups or study groups or some kind of thing to literally determine mathematically what are the words and phrases that these people associate with the ideal leader of their country. And I think he's pretty much just ran on that ever since. And that's an example of a politician selecting like a couple of different social movements and this idea that's developing culturally and taking it for themselves and running with it. And so now that idea is attached in a permanent way to the Republican Party and to Trump by extension, or to Trump and the Republican Party by extension, depending on how you want to see it. And I think the same thing happens on the left. But once again, it's something that these social movements really can't help. If your social movement gets picked up by a political party, I mean, it's like there's all kinds of calculus that goes into it. Do you reject their support and possibly turn people away who consider them to be like vanguard bulwarks over the safe operation of our country? Or like, do you accept their help and accept the fact that you might be marginalized in a way because of it? because it's obviously hides something. I feel like the average person is not ready for that kind of movement. I feel like the average person is getting real ready for it. If they're not ready yet, I feel like they're getting ready for it. Hot take: hating on rich people for doing rich stuff that doesn't hurt anyone is useless. I mean, I don't think it's 100% useless, but I don't know if I want to argue with you about it. Just yet. Maybe we can come back around to it later. I thought 300 seconds was wild. Imagine if you waited all 86,000 seconds to chat again. Some people do. Some people do. I would literally vote for Phoebe for president. Well, thanks. I don't know that I'd be qualified, but I appreciate it nonetheless. People underestimate how go with the flow the average voter is. Well, yes, I could be accused of some underestimation of the voter in that regard, at the very least. Because, yeah, I think that the average voter is a lot more pissed off than you're giving them credit for. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I just see a lot of tension and anger in a lot of different people in America. And I know if I see that much tension and anger, that there's got to be a lot of people who feel that way but aren't that expressive about it, you know? And that tells me that there's like a fucking needless divide in this country that needs to be met with some kind of movement that addresses the root cause. And I think that the root cause is being made more obvious. It's one of the reasons why I want the Epstein files to be released so bad, because I am of the opinion that if the Epstein files get released, it might actually help radicalize Americans into seeing that it's not the Republicans and the Democrats that are fucking them over. It's the Republicans and Democrats together that are fucking them over. It's not the fucking I'm sorry, I should have said it's not the Republicans or the Democrats fucking them over. It's the Republicans and the Democrats fucking them over, right? It's both parties and all of the fucking political machinations that they fucking control and all the rich people that own and control them. That is the problem. That is the thing that needs addressing. That is the thing we have to work on. That is the thing we have to work towards getting rid of and getting moving past and figuring out a different solution for. And I think people are ripe for it in a way we perhaps have never been in our entire history. The Trump 2028s are still here, but like at the end of the day, it's just frustrating. I fucking love living through history, bro, and Trump has been by far the most funny and silly guy for us. I mean, he definitely has been a very, a president to laugh at. I'll give you that much. TJ for king. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with making TJ the king. They can be the king if they want to be. But I don't think I don't know if TJ has their sights set on the kinghood anymore. Why is Phoebe like 12 minutes behind on live chat? Because I get stuck on a fucking question because a question will interest me and I'll spend like 10 minutes answering it. And so I get 10 minutes behind in chat, right? Because I'll see another question right by it that I want to answer. It's a failing of mine. I wholeheartedly agree. I'm more right-wing, however, both right and left can go to hell. That's why I make a distinction between the right-wing voter, the left-wing voter, and the right-wing politician and the left-wing politician. Quote-unquote left-wing, because I don't think there are any left-wing politicians in America. I think there are center-right politicians in America, and then moderate right to far-right politicians in America. And, I think this, divide between the Republicans and the Democrats is I think it's a fucking fake battle because nothing ultimately ends up happening that really fucking truly benefits the American people. I mean, what we get is such fucking, it's so slow, and we have to demand it so massively. And so many of the things that people love about America now were fought for like 50, 60, 70 years ago. People have just been taking them for granted ever since. Things have been getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The funniest thing is wealthy millionaires who pretend to be progressive. Yeah, definitely. That is the funniest fucking thing. Well, well, let me put it this way. It's way harder to eat a pig that you've raised as a pet than it is one you've raised in a pasture. And they know that. They know it's way harder to eat a pig that you've had as a pet than one you've raised in the pasture. They know. They know that if we view them as being soft and tolerant and generous, that they'll be less likely to be among the first chosen to bid goodbye if the day of reckoning should ever come. What's your opinion on David Goggins? That name sounds familiar, but I can't think of who that is. Is that a KKK guy? Am I thinking of the same dude? This is why I'd love to jump in a call. I know not everyone is up to that, but I suck at typing. I'm at that level drunk to talk politics. Well, Leather, I tell you what, I can't do calls on this stream because I don't have like a secondary cell phone or something like that. But I've been hyping it up for weeks and I've been talking about it, and I might be starting up a little fucking call-in show here soon. So stay tuned for that. It's 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 what am I looking for again? Dude, I'm so fucking high. Oh, right. What day is it? Wednesday. Okay. No, it's Wednesday now. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to launch it this week, but next week, stay tuned for an announcement. And if you want to call in at that point, I'm going to be doing it via desktop, and it'll be way easier. How would a call stream work? Oh, well, I can't. Well, that's the thing. I can't do it over this phone, right? Because I would have to have a secondary phone, and I would have to sit here with it on because YouTube won't, YouTube won't properly pick up the sound if you just have someone in a Discord call and have it going. It won't properly pick up the sound, and it makes it kind of harder to communicate and make it legible for everybody. The sound quality is pretty shit. If you have a secondary phone, it's okay. It just sounds like listening to somebody on speakerphone in any other recording you've ever heard. It's legible. But if you do it through the phone that you're streaming on, and plus it causes connection issues because more and more data is being forced through your phone's one antenna. So it's just not something I would like to do on a vertical stream, but it's something I'm really interested in doing on desktop streams. And on desktop streams, there's a number of ways I can do it on desktop streams. What I'm probably going to do is have people join my fan Discord, which I'm going to have to talk to the people that run it and check in on them and see how they're doing, because I haven't talked to those folks in a long ass time, and I just need to make sure everything's cool on that end. Otherwise, I'll have to make my own server or something. But I'm probably going to have the fan Discord server post it a day or two before the call-in stream or whatever, and have an updated link up. Have that pinned in the stream itself, and then people will go in there, join the lobby or whatever, and get through. And then there'll be a vetting channel. I'll have to talk to somebody about about doing some vetting for me, maybe. That could be cool. They go through and make sure that they're not going to be completely bad faith, make sure that their connection's good, that their voice sounds okay, all that. And then they move them over to the room that only I can access, besides only they can put people in it and only I can access it, Hey, after your stream, no, I don't usually here's the thing. I'm kind of how do I put it? Kind of an ambivert, right? So I like my solitude, I like my conversations, but when I'm done with my conversations, I like my solitude. When I'm done with my solitude, I want a conversation. And I don't make friends that quickly. Maybe that sounds pretentious or whatever, but it's just not fucking something I do all that often. So it's one thing if I'm doing it for content and if I'm already socializing, but the idea of like getting to the end of my social battery and then prolonging it, is just not a fun idea to me. I smell like a delicatessen because I forgot to put on deodorant. Oh my god. Like a delicatessen? How does a delicatessen smell? Dude, I spent like 6 months living in Massachusetts, never went to a delicatessen. Never went to a deli the whole time I lived in Mass. And there was a period of time when I was living in like the greater Boston area. I was in fucking Tewksbury. Guarantee you there's a fucking deli within 30 miles of Tewksbury. I didn't go to one though. But I did go to a badass fucking sandwich shop up there in Lowell a number of times. Badass sandwich shop. Good prices, good sandwiches, all around good times. I supervise a deli at night. There's a smell. I bring it home. What kind of smell though, Riley? Is it like a stinky smell? So I used to work at a catfish restaurant, and pretty much no matter what position I worked in, I ended up smelling pretty fucking rank when I came home. Like funky, just funky, man, funky. Boy, I would smell funky. Just fish and fucking fry oil and dirty sink water, all that, like all the worst aspects of a restaurant that makes all its own food, just combined into one smell, you know? I was just in Lowell over the weekend. What? That's cool. I think Lowell's kind of a cool town. I mean, it's kind of hard to drive in, but I've gotten more appreciation for walkable cities and neighborhoods since I lived in Mass, and now I kind of understand why it's hard to drive in, and I'm cool with it. But it was kind of hard for me to get around in as a person in a car. But it worked. I was able to get around. It was fine. It's kind of hard to get in and out of, though. Wait, there is? Dude, I knew I was in a magical place when I was in Lowell. I was visiting, actually, I was visiting a friend of mine in Dracut, or Dracut. I don't know how it's actually pronounced. I think it's Dracut. But I was visiting a friend who lived in Dracut, like right outside of Lowell. And we're not friends anymore because I said some dumbass shit on Facebook. I don't even remember what the fuck I said. I don't even remember what I said. No, we're not even fucking friends anymore, but it's lame. Anyway, I knew I was in a magical place, though. Yo, is the war in Ukraine still happening? I like how as a country we've just moved on. Oh yeah, the war in Ukraine just continues to rage on, and that's why our country has moved on. And really, it's not our country so much as it is a lot of our voter base and a lot of the fucking people in the media has moved on. But the government is still conceptualizing, making, editing, etc., considering policy of all kinds in regards to our support for Israel. Or, I'm sorry, our support for Ukraine. The other hotbed of horrors that we're supporting. Anyway, support for Ukraine has continued. Trump said he was going to find some kind of quick resolution to the Russo-Ukrainian war. He has not done so. He is probably not going to do so. He hasn't indicated really that he's actually going to meaningfully pursue it. So good luck on that one. And yeah, it's just kind of raged on in the interim. People keep dying. Progress keeps being made in inches. People keep getting conscripted. And, the band goes marching on. Russia's a Russia's a dictatorship. I hope the people in there get freed. Like, no one really talks about how Putin's like a literal dictator. Well, people do talk about it, but it just doesn't matter because Russia's a giant fucking power with a lot of resources, you know? Like, there's plenty of fucking dictatorships that don't have that many resources that we can, or that more people in our country feel like they can openly fuck on and make fun of and everything else. But when it comes to Russia, you would be shocked how many American citizens and politicians have business, political, or some other kind of financial tie to good old Mother Russia. If I were president, I would end both wars by Christmas. What would be your plan, Pickle? Just out of curiosity. I think you could do it. I'm not even doubting you, Pickle, but what would be your plan? Because I'll tell you what my plan would be. For the Israel-Palestine situation, a brand new UN peacekeeping force assembled from all the countries who, spearheaded by America and funded and fucking equipped by all these different countries that are against Israel's continued genocide, right? That basically separates these two powers, performs disarmament for a mandatory period of 10 years, and then maintains defense of the region while the IDF is in absentia and basically disbanded for a period of 10 years. At the very least, contingent on their ability to demonstrate kindness to the Palestinian people and to work with them and to build some kind of coalition government for the united territories of Israel and Palestine. You are the band, Phoebe. Am I? Am I? I don't know if you meant it to, but that had more implication than it might have seemed at first. Yeah, you're right. I'm not even gonna lie. I am the band, and so are most people. Wars come, wars go. C'est la vie. We're so callous about it. We're so fucking callous about it. Even when we're trying to be impassioned about the topic, even when we're trying to illustrate how horrible a thing it is, so often we just end up being so fucking callous about it because there's just no time in America's history we can point out in our lifetimes where we haven't been at this shit. And so we're all numb to it. We're all numb to it. And so, of course, the band continues playing on. Why wouldn't it? What else does it know? What is the snare drummer suddenly going to put down their drum and pick up a picket sign? Not likely. Even if they did, they'd be the only one making disharmonic noise in a musical movement that longs to march to its own shared group thinking beat. I want to sit around and smoke with Phoebe and talk about shit. Oh, dude, we could do that at some point. I don't know what part of the world you're in, Pig Mercy, but depending on what part of the world, I keep wanting to call you Pig Mercy because that's what you were. I'm pretty sure that's who you are. That's who you remind me of, if that's not who you are. But yeah, depending on what region you're in, post music, we could definitely do that. Smoking is evil, is it? Yeah, Pickle is just bad take after bad take. I'm okay with that, honestly. At least there's a logical conclusion. Let me see here. First of all, you back up all of Ukraine and stand strong with Europe, then create the strongest international force for Israel, creating new treaties, and also create a treaty limiting states divided by religion. Actually, yeah, I kind of like that, Pickle. I mean, like, I don't know that I support giving. Like, I don't know that I support that route with the Ukraine war. I think we should try some kind of unilateral diplomacy deal that gives, like, some kind of shared custody agreement between this land that's under such hot contention. I think that if we could work something like that out, even if it was, like, not very deferential to the fucking Ukrainians in terms of their profits or whatever, I think that that would be better. You know, that and then allowing them to join NATO would be better and more productive than, you know, continuing to fight out this war with Russia. Do I think that we could engage in an all-out war and just say we've got, you know, this far no further, we're going to fucking attack back actively in conventional warfare, and we are going to push you back until you get out of this region and decide to stop invading it for the fucking umpteenth time? Do I think we could do that? Yes. Do I know that it would be successful? No, I don't know that it would be. I'm pretty sure it would be. But I can't help but admit that I'm kind of scared of the idea of nukes flying because we do something like that, and it's a real possibility. Waging war with power like Russia. Shared custody doesn't work, though. Look at the Rhine in World War II. Well, I mean, just because it didn't work in World War II at that particular time and place doesn't mean it couldn't work anywhere, right? I mean, we all share custody of Alaska, or not Alaska. Fucking, I'm retarded. Antarctica. Yeah, that frozen ass place. Wrong frozen ass place. Unlike Pickle, Capybara is always a chill guy. Yeah, Capybara sometimes even has disagreements with me and stuff, but he's always just like so chill about it. He's like, yeah, you know, very true to character, I have to say. Capybara picked very well when Capybara selected their name and image because they are very Capybara-like, honestly. They're very much like a Cappy. Shared custody doesn't work. All the kids with divorced parents. What am I, chopped liver? Russia wants Ukraine bad, though, like Germany wanted the Rhine. Yeah, I don't know that they're fucking the same, though. I don't think Russia wants Ukraine. I think Russia wants an expedient land route to the sea, and I think they want direct land access to the Crimean Peninsula. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Russia has been offered something like this already and has turned it down. Maybe I'm wrong. But I haven't seen anything that's led me to believe that that's been an offer on the table, and I don't know why it hasn't been presented. Because I think something like that could safeguard Russia's interest to having more access to trade and Ukraine's interest to still being able to make money economically in these areas. And both of these countries are market economies now, so isn't that the fucking spirit of it? Let there be a fucking shared custody zone. You know, like what's the what's the worst that could happen? A giant what's the worst that could happen? A giant endless war with trenches and people getting conscripted on both sides to die in fucking endless warfare that just never goes anywhere, and fucking turtle tanks and artillery shells coming down over their heads and shit. Oh, you mean like what's going on right now? So to me, it's just like, can we try it? Can we put it on the table? Can we offer it at the very least? Before we say, no, that wouldn't work, can we at least try? Fuck. Putin has stated his love of the USSR. I think his intention is a restoration of old ideals. I can see why you think so. I don't know that I agree, but I definitely can see why you think so. Everyone is cold and poor in Alaska, but they make the best of it and have antique guns like in Russia. Oh, yeah. And not everybody is poor in Alaska, by the way. There are a shit ton of rich people who live in Alaska. It's not, I'm not going to say it's like the overwhelming population, but there are a crazy and surprising number of people who make a lot of money who choose to live in Alaska for one reason or another. Oh no, don't misunderstand. Russia can have Ukraine. I'd rather we cut our ties. See, yeah, like, I don't know though. Like, So if you don't care if if you don't care if we lose Ukraine anyway, then what do you have to lose? You know, like, so like, what is it, Matt? I'm just wondering what your interest in defying the argument is. You know, like if from your perspective it doesn't even matter and Russia can have Ukraine, it doesn't like. So okay, well, why can't America have Ukraine? Not that America would have Ukraine, but you know what I'm saying. Why can't the North Atlantic Treaty Organization have Ukraine? Rich people do in fact live everywhere. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I do think that there are some areas that they frequent more often than others, though. I understand why we need to stop Russia from invading Ukraine, but it's also really annoying. Yeah, no, I agree. Uh, Riley, where do you live? I saw two black people in Moscow. You said that like you went to Moscow every other day. Well, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, Capybara. Although I don't know that Riley was trying to imply that. Um, but it is worth considering if you only went one time at one time a day, and like, how were those folks treated is another thing too. Were they mistreated? Did it look like anyone was giving them side eye or anything like that? Because if you're familiar with American racism, which I know Riley is, then it can be pretty easy to spot racism in other countries as well. There's a lot of rich people in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah, there is. Upstate New York has a shit ton of rich people. New York City, for that matter, has quite a fucking giant number of rich people living in it. So there's a bunch of rich people live in New York City. A bunch of them live in upstate New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont to some degree. Um, I haven't really heard about that many in Maine, but maybe I'm wrong. And then Alaska, I know, has quite a few. California, I know, has a shit ton. Pretty sure Washington and Oregon do as well. Colorado, I know, does. Florida. It's kind of sick, but if you really want to know what areas are considered top notch and primo by the richest, like, if just in general, not, but like, obviously, if you want to know what's considered that by the richest, you can just look at where they're buying land. But look at where the rich are buying land if you want to know what is like the best land by aggregate. Like, if human beings don't have the element of money hanging over their head, where do they choose to live? Look at those areas and you found your fucking dream home. What's the richest state? I don't know if it, like, I know California is in terms of GDP. I don't know if you know I don't know if some other state outclasses them on some other economic metric. But I know California by itself is the fifth largest economy in the world. So, what other bang styles would you consider trying, if any? I would consider trying any, honestly. I've seen a bunch of them that I think look cute. I don't know the names of them, but pretty much every time I see someone with bangs, I'm like, oh, that looks like it would look really good. Like per capita, because California is massive. True. Exactly. We have nothing to lose, but we have tax dollars to lose if we join custody, because we'd be one of the countries enforcing it. Well, yeah, but we'd have tax dollars to gain too. That's the thing, right? In theory, or maybe not tax dollars to gain, but we'd have repayments to gain, because we lend lease them a whole bunch of equipment throughout the various stages of this conflict. We've lend leased them a whole bunch of equipment. That bill's going to be coming due, and I'd rather that bill remain payable if I'm an American taxpayer looking at it through a purely economic lens. And to me, the most expedient way to see that through is to make sure that both countries can continue making money, which is ultimately going to prevent both countries from going to war. And if we can prevent both countries from going to war, then we can induct Ukraine into NATO, and then we stop this from being a problem forevermore. Rich people don't spend in the real economy sometimes. Oh, yeah. They keep money in their own microeconomies. Pretty much, yeah. It's something a lot of people don't realize about rich people. They'll have like a bunch of rich people living in their community or adjacent to their town or something like that. Missouri's like this. There are all kinds of weird little shit fuck towns in Missouri that have like one or two nice spots in the middle of town and then have a really nice fucking suburb somewhere outside of town. And everyone who works in that town is poor as shit and lives in horrible fucking places. But then the fucking few rich people that do live there, they have a bunch of shops that they frequent for all of their needs in downtown. They have like stores that they go up into the city to spend at, right? Grocery stores, like particular ones that they trust and like, that are upscale or exclusive or members only or whatever. And so much of a rich person's money just like flows endlessly within like the microeconomies of boutique consumerism. Now, yeah, some of a rich person's money is going to be spent on local companies doing maintenance on their rich ass properties and shit. But that is a penny in the bucket compared to all the money they're spending on designer clothes and groceries from brands none of us can afford, from stores none of us can afford to go to. We're talking about Costco. Costco isn't a rich people store, is it? I'm more talking about places where it's just hard to get to unless you've got the money to just, drop $20 in gas and like $20 on lunch while you're up there and $200 on groceries to make the trip worth it and all that shit. Like, most fucking people ain't got that lying around for a casual grocery trip for, 2 weeks worth of groceries. I used to clean houses for some pretty wealthy people. It was a trip knowing someone had 6 bathrooms and I had to clean all of them. Oh, dude, Desi, the houses of the rich and powerful are another thing entirely. Rich people live in houses that make the rest of our houses look like fucking shacks, bro. I, I find it kind of alarming and a little disarming because I just, every time I go into a house like that, all I can think is, what the fuck do people intend to do with all this space? Literally, what the hell do people intend to do with all this space? Because I can't think of a worse use of space than just endless rooms and endless staircases and endless fucking, like, there's a foyer and then there's a fucking reading nook and then there's a breakfast cranny and then there's a fucking dining room and then there's a living room and then there's a kitchen and then there's a kitchen extension and then there's the pantry, and this is all on the fucking first level. You go up to the bedroom and you find out that one of the doors where you're looking at is to a fucking bedroom, so add that to the never-ending list of rooms on the fucking first floor. Add to it the garage and you're talking about like fucking what would that be, like 4,000 square feet of space just on their first floor? Some ridiculous amount? I don't know, I'm not a fucking house designer. But you get what I'm saying. You ever been in one of these houses? They're fucking retarded. Then you go upstairs and it's just a labyrinth. 4 fucking bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. There's a bathroom downstairs that you never did puzzle out the location of. And then you go down to the basement. You're thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe they've got a normal person basement. Nope. It's fully finished. There's another 2 bedrooms down there, along with a soundproofed game room and micro production studio. Yes, it was a house just like that. I'm familiar with the type, yep. Look at how West Berlin and East Berlin turned out. The USSR went bankrupt. Wait, are we talking about the USSR now? What's going on? Fully finished basements aren't a flex. Some people are stuck in the Midwest and can't do anything else in the winter. Fully finished basements are 100% a flex. Dude, I lived in the Midwest. I knew plenty of people that had basements that weren't fully finished. They were like, you know, they were like finished in the sense that they had concrete walls and shit and an operating sump pump, and stairs going down to them. But, like, I don't know. Although one of the people I knew who didn't have a finished basement actually did end up finishing it out at a certain point. It was never as nice as some finished basements I've seen, but it was definitely pretty cool. Pretty fucking dope. But yeah, I would argue that a finished basement makes more sense in the Midwest than it does some other places. My basement is 4 foot tall because the water is too close. Yeah, that's just a crawl space. Yeah. Yeah, and I have a similar situation. I mean, we live in a trailer, so we have a crawl space under our trailer, but we literally could not build a house with a basement here unless we lived somewhere like on a hill or something like that. There's certain topographies in this area where it's more friendly to a basement if you just really want to have one. But even then, a lot of times people will go to dig their basement out, and if it's not on a hill, you just come to find one day that your basement is now a pond. And so you have to like get rid of all that water. You have to pump all that water out, and it's still going to continuously seep in. So now, like, if you're not on a hill, you just can't do it. The water's just too close. Your fucking house is just going to float away. You know? So, if you want to have a basement in the area I live, in like my particular area, the Deep South, you basically have to really luck out into being on like the top edge of a hill. That way you've got like minimum possibility for like an upswell of water in general, but if it does happen, that way you can just drain it off to the side. And that sort of topography exists very, very rarely down here. Compared to my earlier comment in your response, you said joint custody could help both countries still be economically viable. Yeah. Well, what does that have to do with the USSR, though? I don't think allowing them to have joint custody of that particular region would be an equivalent of the Ukraine rejoining the USSR. The world elites really have us by the balls if we're talking strategies to stop spending billions on genocide. Well, yeah, of course they fucking do. Dude, the world elites have had us by the balls for fucking 20 years, and now we're just, like, that's why I said that what you said earlier about I'm the band playing on. That's why I said it rang so hollow and true in my mind, you know? Or rang so fully and true, is because it's like, damn, yeah. Because, like, what can we do but just talk about how it's all going to play out? What can we do about like what can we do other than talk strategy and talk rhetoric and opinions on the possible violence to come? It's not like we're going to step right in the way of it. I see things in my room at night. 0 to 10, don't watch Life of Luxury horror videos. At 6 in a dark room, you'll need SpongeBob afterwards. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Are you familiar with East and West Berlin? Yeah, I mean, familiar enough, but I just don't know. Like, uh, East and West Berlin are not an example of joint custody. They're an example of rigidly divided custody, aren't they? Like, I don't get the distinction that you're making. Yes, I understand, I think, but I don't get it. We can eat eggs. I make a dope omelet. Nice. Did you ever say, Post, where, what area of the world you're in? Wouldn't it be the same? Why would it be? Oh, you're in Mass. Oh, geez. Well, maybe we can meet up sometime. You're in the eastern third, I'm assuming, right? Because like most Massachusetts folks are. Most massholes are from the fucking eastern third of the state. So I'm assuming you're probably in that region as well. Man, I've attracted a lot of people from the Northeast. That's dope. Has anybody in here ever been to North Adams, Massachusetts? That's where I used to live when I was living up in Mass. Alaska. Damn. Represent. We were talking about the frozen wastes of Alaska earlier. I'm just joking around. I'm from northern Alabama. Right on. Righteous. Yeah, not far from where I'm at, honestly. I'll smoke you up and make yummies for us. That sounds fun, Pig Mercy. I'm not gonna lie. It does sound fun. I might go ahead and get off here though, because I'm getting pretty tired and feeling kind of shit. Not like sick or anything like I was yesterday. I think I'm tired. Need to go to bed. Anyway, I will see you guys later. Ban cigarettes and end world hunger or not. Yeah, and a million other things that'll never happen. Anyway, good night. I love you guys.